Human rights are basic rights and freedoms that belong to every person in the world. They are moral principles that set out certain standards of human behavior and are regularly protected as legal rights in national and international law. They are commonly understood as inalienable fundamental rights to which a person is inherently entitled simply because she or he is a human being. Generally, human rights are based on core principles like dignity, fairness, equality, respect, and autonomy. They are relevant to an individual's day-to-day life and protect the individual's freedom to control their own life, effectively take part in decisions made by public authorities which impact upon their rights, and get fair and equal services from public authorities. Uganda, like many developing countries, has faced challenges in many sectors of development. One area the country has faced challenges is the realization of respect, promotion, and protection of human rights of all persons. This can be in large measure attributed to the country's turbulent past, which for decades meant scant attention was paid to human rights. The beginning of the 1990s witnessed a major paradigm shift in the struggle to improve human rights in Uganda.
I think that there have been positive developments because the Constitution itself introduced a number of new rights. It also strengthened the institutions that were supposed to protect human rights, and I believe that it also assisted civil society to become a much more vocal actor.
Around 1994, the human rights subsector was growing. Aware of that growth and the necessity for vibrance within the sector, it became clear to many of us who were in the sector at that time that there was need to have a united effort, that for us to be effective, we needed to have a coordinated mechanism through which our voices could be heard. It was the desire to work together, to have a coordinated effort, and to build synergy within the different actors that the idea of establishing the Human Rights Network of Uganda was born. Overall, there were 8 organizations. We had representation from the Foundation for Human Rights Initiative, the Human Rights and Peace Center, represented by Professor Lokonyango. We had representation from the Legal Aid Clinic of the Uganda Law Society. We had representation from Uganda Gender Resource Center, the Association of Women Lawyers, and ACFOD.
The vision of HURINET Uganda is to work towards a society free of human rights abuse. The mission of HURINET Uganda is to foster the promotion, protection, and respect of human rights in Uganda through linking and strengthening the capacity of member organizations. The strength of HURINET Uganda and its fidelity to its mission and vision originates from a firm foundation built over the years.
At that time, we had a number of programs which included advocacy and networking. We had a program around capacity, skills development and capacity building. We also had the Human Rights Fund. So under these programs, we were able to build the capacity of civil society organizations through training, through peer exchanges. There were exchanges between our members here and human rights institutions, both government institutions and non-government institutions outside of Uganda. We were able also to support human rights organizations in Uganda financially through the Human Rights Fund. In terms of advocacy, HURINET at the time, and I think now, did quite a lot of work around legislative advocacy, no bill that had the human rights component, no bill that had an effect on human rights went without research from HURINET and a presentation before Parliament from HURINET.
HURINET over the years has grown from 8 organizations to now 53 organizations, and also hosting 7 national coalitions. So in terms of structural growth, yes, you could see that the institution has had quite a journey in growing. HURINET can be looked at, therefore, in 2 ways. In terms of the formal structures and the boundaries, but one can also understand that HURINET has the extra layer of the informal structures around it. And that's why, in terms of understanding the full strength of HURINET, one will need to go beyond the 53 organizations to look at the other connected campaigns and the coalitions that HURINET has a linkage with.
Nationally and internationally, HURINET-Uganda has placed significant footprints. In northern and eastern Uganda, the network has contributed enormously to improving the human rights situation and consequently bettered the lives of communities. Internationally, HURINET-Uganda has been a trailblazer in the support of the activities of the International Criminal Court, the ICC.
Now, HURINET has continued to be involved and interested and active, and also played a key role in ensuring that international criminal justice is domesticated in our different processes, including laws, including programs, and so on and so forth. As such, since 2005, HURINET became involved in a campaign for the domestication of the Rome Statute. Uganda had ratified the Rome Statute, but there was no enabling law to ensure that the international crimes are tried in Uganda. And therefore, we unleashed a campaign together with other civil society organizations for domestication of the Rome Statute in Uganda. And we can say we are part of those actors that made it possible for the International Crimes Act to be achieved in Uganda. Currently, we have one. We were active in stimulating debate on the International Criminal Court at a time when it was too sensitive a matter to talk about. And we undertook a number of campaigns, outreach campaigns in the communities up in the north and other parts of the country to ensure that actually the different stakeholders were seized with the discourse on what it meant to be a situation country, and therefore what obligations and responsibilities the state had assumed by, one, ratifying, but also, two, by referring the Ugandan situation to the International Criminal Court. HURINET was very instrumental at the time of the convening of the review conference on the International Criminal Court, which took place here in Uganda in 2010. First, by campaigning that actually the review conference is convened in Uganda, but more importantly, also advocating for the assembly of state parties of the Rome Statute to be engaged with the affected communities prior to the review conference. And as such, we organized state delegates visits to northern Uganda, and we can say this was a very big achievement as many states attended the visit that we organized to the north, so that they can understand, they can interact, they can relate with the challenges, with the realities, with the concerns of the affected communities and the victims of the international crimes, so that when they come to do the stock taking during the review conference, they are proceeding from an informed point of view because they have been affected by the contribution of the affected communities.
Today, the identity of HURINET Uganda is embedded in its diverse membership of 53 NGOs. Members range from purely Ugandan NGOs to international organizations.
We are a member together with Human Rights Network of Uganda. And also, the other relationship is that we share task responsibilities. We all both work in the field of human rights work, defending the rights of the defenseless. The major benefit has really been from the network that the sharing of information, sharing of resources, particularly in the areas of training where we cannot do it. They are always there with us. That had been a very big threat. And of course, protection, as I said it in the beginning, there was a lot of threats to right defenders. So often when HURINET gets the information, they would always act on our behalf. On a number of occasions when we were threatened with, with arrest, disbanding the organization, HURINET has not kept quiet. They would come up to make public statements to defend not only the organization, but also individuals working within the organization.
This unique outlay has ensured that HURINET remains firmly in the driving seat as Uganda's human rights pace-setter. The impact of HURINET Uganda's work reverberates well beyond the confines of its membership. One such example where HURINET Uganda has been engaging a lot is on the area of resource-based conflicts. For example, in the region of Mount Elgon.
The situation before was a bit alarming, I have to say, especially on the sides of the communities. Whenever you try to effect an arrest, these people become too violent, and it was always very difficult to arrest them. But one good thing was that HURINET was conducting a training. It was a two-way. It would train the rangers on human rights activities, and then also train the communities on how to behave, especially the ones of Namisindwa Landowners Association. So the way arrests could be effected improved, especially on handling human rights. At the beginning, it was a bit sour because we also didn't really know what were the intentions of HURINET. So that one scared us so much. We were actually scared, are these people coming into wreck? What exactly are they after? But when we realized as time went on, especially after the training, we really came to learn that they really gave us very good guidelines on how to go about with the law enforcement activities and ensuring that the human rights are actually handled in the right way when dealing with the communities.
At times we have registered cases of, say, killings by members of the community. Killings, they kill or officials shooting to kill some members of the community, or the members of the community attacking officials. At times they have raised down the camps, rangers camps. Immediately we pass over the information to HURINET. They have promptly responded. We have instances even where they have responded within less than 48 hours. And I think that is commendable. And usually when they respond, it comes with sanity to both the UWA and members of the community, such that they look at HURINET as a promoter of peace, as a savior.
HURINET Uganda runs an advocacy program to influence public issues, policy and laws affecting human rights, governance and rule of law, as well as responding to major assault on human rights defenders in Uganda. Owing to its high level of programming, HURINET Uganda values partnerships that have contributed immensely to both its growth and the recognition of the importance of human rights in Uganda. For example, with the Uganda Police Force.
Uganda Police has benefited a lot from this organization in terms of training, in terms of resources. We have also worked with them to develop a complaint form, Police Form 105, whereby members of the public, if they want to complain, it can be used as a basis or a guide on handling the complaints. that are handled by our Professional Standards Unit or the Directorate of Legal and Human Rights. We have also together had to come up with a book on common questions, the 101 questions or things that the public mainly interests itself about police. And really this relationship has helped our community liaison officers, who are our links between police and the public.
HURINET-Uganda believes that by working together, human rights organizations will be able to impact greatly on the status of human rights in Uganda.
We in the Uganda Human Rights Commission took a deliberate decision to work with the civil societies in Uganda, including the HURINET-Uganda. Secondly, UHRC is quite aware that the promotion and protection of human rights cannot be done by one entity. And for that reason, we realize the need for partnership with the civil society. We have identified areas of interest, such as the civil and political rights areas, which has, of course, helped in strengthening our partnership. We have also developed a partnership strategy with them, which guides us in our engagement, and this also applies to other civil societies. UHRC and HURINET have worked together in the lobbying for recommendations that the UHRC has made, for instance, in regard to holding state agents accountable in various aspects. We've worked together on the issues of the UPR. They were very, very instrumental as civil society, giving us the information. We shared the information. We have also worked with them on issues of media campaign when addressing specific issues.
This is why it has wholeheartedly supported coalitions that have made immense contribution.
In most cases, civil society tend to think that we can work in isolation. But again, we know that it's very key to work with state actors. And again, through that Coalition for Freedom of Information, HURINET was able to coordinate and ensure that Ministry of Information is also able to come on board. And we're able to work together to ensure that the regulations were enacted, and eventually they became part and parcel of the Access to Information Act that had been enacted way back in 2005 without the supporting regulations. Because we know that in the anti-corruption fight, information is key, information is power, and that is a very an achievement that we actually attribute to HURINET, because we're able to spearhead and coordinate the respective members under the Coalition for Freedom of Information to ensure that these regulations are out.
We have a capacity building program which has enabled to build the capacities both of HURINET staff but also of member organization staff to be able to act professionally.
HURINET-Uganda has successfully helped incubate and give clinical support to a number of its member organizations, mainly working on the right to freedom of information, nationwide campaign against corruption, and the protection of human rights defenders.
We've been working together on various issues, but I must say that when the Human Rights Center was being established, when we founded the Human Rights Center, HURINET assisted us in the foundation, in the setup, because they managed our finances, they managed our project for almost a year before we got our own arrangements.
The relationship between IDF and HURINET is quite strong because even historically it dates way back at the time when IDF was being formed, and HURINET was very instrumental in this formation of IDF. Initially it used to be called Human Rights Fund before IDF came into existence, and all the ideas of supporting human rights kind of work in this country was really nurtured at HURINET. which was very important at the time, given the apparently also HURINET has been instrumental in the governance of IDF. For example, we have had our board chairman, Mr. Ndifuna, who is the ED of HURINET for over this time, since 2008, guiding the development and growth of IDF to this level. And that has to be recognized in a very serious way, because without his leadership as the chairman of IDF, probably IDF wouldn't be what it is today.
The 2 decades have witnessed major transformations internally at HURINET Uganda and on a broader scale in Uganda's human rights scene. These positive changes have also come along with critical challenges.
There are still many problems in terms of the institutional protection of rights, the problem of institutions acting with impunity, such as the police, neglecting court orders, the government as a whole abusing human rights. And I think also in particular there's a problem. The 95 Constitution did not give much attention to economic, social and cultural rights, and those ones are still very much lagging behind the civil and political rights.
There have been several threats, several attacks against human rights defenders. It's a big challenge. Recently, a report was prepared by the NGO Forum showing that a number of organizations, like 15 or more, have had break-ins in their offices, and when they do break-in, they steal IT equipment and servers. There have been also personal attacks and threats, either in the media or in different ways. However, working together with HURINET, we devised methods of ensuring our security. In this respect, you need both knowing about your digital security and also ensuring your personal security.
Despite these challenges, all partners and stakeholders working with HURINET Uganda are in complete consensus that the first 20 years of HURINET Uganda's existence have been years well spent.
What I've seen with HURINET is that they are a learning organization. They are an organization that listens. They are an organization that involves their partners in their work, and they also involve their membership. They have a strong board that regulates the way the Secretariat works, and they have accounting mechanisms that really are audited, and you can see that they have good systems in place to ensure that the resources that they manage are well utilized. For that reason, I think HURINET has done well.
When I look back 20 years after the formation of the network, I think to a large extent we have achieved much of the objectives we set ourselves. For example, we now have a vibrant network with an initial membership of 8 organizations. Now we can boast of over 53 organizations, not only focusing on civil and political rights, but on a range of rights, environment, on all matters, poverty eradication. So you can argue that we have been able to bring all of those organizations under one roof.
Since 1994, HURINET Uganda has had an immense contribution towards the promotion and protection of human rights. This contribution has been recognized by local, regional, and international actors. Recently, Mohamed Ndifuna, the Chief Executive Officer HURINET Uganda, received a European Union Human Rights Defenders Award, a testimony to the remarkable stance he has taken to advance the human rights agenda while at the helm of HURINET Uganda.
But this is not just an award that I take for myself. It is an embodiment of those values and things that I have stood for and worked closely with my colleagues, many known and unknown, standing for these values. These great people have and continue to work in solidarity, a value that we hold so dearly in our quest for the advancement of human rights agenda in Uganda and beyond. These people unwaveringly continue to push critical issues under various campaigns and coalitions. This is their award too. It is an award for the members of Human Rights Network Uganda. It's an award for the National Coalition for Human Rights Defenders. It is an award for the National Coalition on Police Accountability and Security Sector Reform. It is an award for the National Coalition on Economic, Social and Cultural Rights. It's an award for the National Coalition on Access to Information. It's an award for the Coalition on the International Criminal Code. It's an award for the Coalition for the Transition Justice in Uganda. It is an award for the Coalition on Human Rights Education. It is an award for the National Stakeholders Forum on the Universal Periodic Review Mechanism. This award I share it with all those that I have mentioned.
The years 1994 to 2014 have had a great impact on the human rights landscape in Uganda. HURINET Uganda will continue to grow and strengthen a fellowship of human rights defenders in Uganda that are well grounded in the norms and best practices in human rights protection and promotion, rule of law and good governance, and ensure integration in the regional and international human rights movement. Mohammed Indifuna concludes with a message on the path to the future.
We celebrate 20 years of existence at a very historic moment when achievements have been posited, but also we need to reflect on the realities that will be defining as we go ahead. It's important to reflect on the realities pertaining to the human rights defenders. The terrain is increasingly becoming fluid and challenging for human rights defenders. We're also celebrating 20 years of existence at a time when regional and international mechanisms are becoming very crucial. We are also celebrating 20 years at the time when there are many unresolved transition justice issues. And again, HURINET's work will be crucial. We are celebrating at a time when the state of human rights organizations still remains fluid and nascent, and a lot of work will need to be done to strengthen them further. And to do this will require the continued support and contribution of the different stakeholders that have supported us in all our work that we've done, and the new ones that look towards making a contribution in advancing the human rights agenda together with us.
Oh, Toddy, what shall we do? What shall we do? What shall we do?